things as we enter this day. One is Happy New Year. It's a new year, and maybe you're among the people who made your resolutions. And it's also still our Christmas season. We're coming to the end of the 12 days of Christmas. And it's a little unusual that we have this second Sunday of Christmas, and so this gospel reading. But it's one of my favorite Christmas gospel readings. It comes from that Gospel of John. John, we don't read a lot at Christmas time. He doesn't tell us about mangers or wise men or shepherds. He doesn't tell us any of that. But in our text today, I think he does two things very well. One, in the midst of this dark winter, he talks about the light. And I'm fond of often saying there is the winter of dark nights, but I think even more importantly, we have the winter of our lives, where darkness creeps into our life and our direction, whatever may be going on. In fact, when we came to this time of year, a couple things I've been looking at. As some of you know, we have friends who live outside of North Pole, Alaska. And this time of year, they get about 2 hours of daylight. And they've been sending pictures of the beautiful northern lights. They look forward to this time of year when they can see, and it was interesting to me to begin to learn that in those northern lights, they're not merely light, but a great deal of energy is in them. And so, they're not dreading the darkness. God gives them these brilliant northern lights, and they frequently send the pictures out and say, here's what it looked like today. I also thought about a few years ago, one of our members gave me the website. I started looking at the website for the pictures that come from the Hubble telescope. And what brilliant it is. And you know, we look up in the dark sky and look at a few of the stars up there. And I was thinking about this one cold, dark night recently. And then I looked at that webpage and the brilliant colors and lights that we cannot see, but they are out there. I thought about how many we start the new year, making those resolutions with hopes and dreams and things we would like to do, and entering into that. What an adventure 2015 is bringing us, and the new year as we come. So two stories. One story I wanted to share comes from Fred Craddock, a popular writer, and he tells about a parable of a man who moved into a cottage far away from people. And it was equipped with simply a stove and a few chairs and a bed. And as the sharp edge of winter cut across the landscape, he wrote, the cottage grew cold, as did its occupant. He went out back and pulled a few boards off the house to kindle the fire. The fire was warm, but the house seemed cold as before. More boards came off for a larger fire to warm the now even colder house, which in return required an even larger fire, demanding more boards. In a few days, the man cursed the weather, cursed the house, cursed the stove, and moved away. Craddock writes, futility that the man felt is the futility of those who are trying to live the Christian life without Christ. He is the Word that was in the beginning with God and was God. He's alive today. He's the one that walks with us into the new year. I thought about that, trying to live without Christ and in the coming days, and what that might look like. And when God comes, as we read from John's Gospel, He brings life. Well, on the one hand, John does not give us all that wonderful description that we know from the children's programs, or I know that I delight to hear and read in Luke's Gospel. John just simply comes to us with the truth for living this day, I believe. Our text comes from the beginning. Commentators say it's the prologue, so that you know what is to come in John's Gospel. And I'd suggest you know what's to come in your life this day. John writes, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being, in him was light, and the light was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light which enlightens everyone was coming into the world." My friends, I want to invite you to read back this passage for yourself during the week. 2 challenges. Try and read it fast. It's often confusing if you try and race through it. But I think if you take and reflect, as John wrote phrase by phrase, how packed with meaning, and what an illustration he gives us in John the Baptist. John the Baptist, like you and I, we know we're not God, but we're sent to give witness to God. And the light and the grace that comes to us is a gift to us. And Jesus walks with us into the new year. May we, you and I, be the people of light. That because of us, the people around us, the people we meet in the coming days and the coming year, they will know about God's grace and God's love because we share it. For this, John the Baptist came. For that, let us come and be a part of it. We share in the bread and wine of communion. In the bread and wine of communion, we get much of this concept and this language out of John's Gospel. John wants you to know that Jesus is with you. And he comes to you and seeks through you to be the light into the world, each of us sharing that. So as we come, sharing in the body and blood of Christ, let us be reminded of John's theme, that God is with us this day and into this year. That he journeys with us and he gives us strength and he gives us light. Light for our journey. May we be a people of light. May we be a people of light and grace and joy to all. Amen.